Well, happy Thursday, everybody. Can you believe that we are less than 2 weeks away from Christmas now? Um, I know it seems like time's flying by. Um, I hope from wherever you're watching this at right now, the weather is good. We here in Michigan, we got kind of uh, dumped on with a bunch of snow, right? So it's been a fun morning getting that taken care of. But so I wanted to talk to everybody about brokerage closures for a minute, okay? Um, we've seen a significant number of closures in recent years. I'm not going to do a complete history of closures or anything. I'm just going to go back about a year. In 2023, at least 8,000 freight brokers closed, along with 88,000 truck carriers. This was the first time in FMCSA data that more freight brokers closed than opened. Okay. Some of the notable closures included Convoy, Yellow Corporation, Matheson Trucking, Surge Transportation, and Trans Plus. Okay. There's a reason why I'm telling you this, and so stick with me till the end here, okay? It is this is something that sort of continually comes up in discussion, at least from time to time, and it sort of amazes me when people claim that a bank is cheaper than using a factoring company. Okay, you know, can you tell me of a bank that can protect you better than a factoring company like Optify, right? That has in-depth industry knowledge of what's happening with most brokers. Okay. In case you weren't already aware, this year, the freight brokerage industry lost 181 brokerages between November and December. All right. On average this year, 257 brokerages close every month. So the industry now has 2,900 fewer brokerages than expected on 10 years of growth trends. This marks an 11.6% decline in active brokerages over the past year. Through the 5-year growth rate is still up 20.7%. Okay. Again, I'm getting to the main point of this real quick for you. Okay. Now, some of the reasons for those closures, there's been a 30% decrease in freight volumes. Low rates from shippers have impacted margins. The boom and bust cycle, right, with many new brokerages created when rates were high. Freight brokers borrowing against AR portfolios to fuel growth, which became more expensive when the Fed changed the cost of capital. And the average transaction size of loads is collapsing. Okay, so it's too late to check a broker's credit once you deliver the load. Okay, that's my main point in all of this. It's too late to check credit. And you're like, well, but Tim, I'm on DAT. You told me to sign up for DAT because it's the number one load board, and it is, right? In fact, I think I mentioned in a recent video, I'm seeing across different load boards, at least in the dry van market, there. And again, I don't run a lot of spot freight. I do run some, but because most of my stuff is primarily dedicated. But what I'm noticing, and I'm getting like sort of like some of these random lanes here recently, is that I'm noticing anywhere from about a $500 to a $1,200 difference, right, on any particular lane between DAT and some of the other load boards, right, with the market rate showing higher on DAT. So just for instance, if, one of the other load boards says, the average market rate is $1,700 on a lane, you're probably going to see that at like, 22 to $2,600 on DAT, right? So just looking at your credit score and days to pay is not enough, right? That brokerage could be experiencing some financial troubles, okay? And so that's something to be aware of. And a factoring company will basically give you a heads up on that, or they should be, right? I know Operify is very good at staying up to date on what's going on with most brokerages, so, and it might be a brokerage that, you've run from time to time, but not, very consistently. So something to kind of to stay aware of. Again, if you are looking at factoring, looking at changing factoring, I highly recommend Operify, right? They've got a great network of vendors that they can refer you to. They've got the fuel card, right? Tank payments, so you can get instant payments, plus you can get a rebate on your factoring, all kinds of stuff, right? And again, they have real world industry knowledge. So if you're looking to partner with a factoring company that's basically the whole enchilada, right? They're it. Okay. I know that there's others out there that brag about this factoring company, that factoring company, but not always do they. And I've dealt with different factoring companies over the years, right? Once they get their hooks in you, that's it. You more or less treated like a number. You end up finding out a lot of different things after the fact because they're not transparent. They get you locked into, long-term contracts, and it's very, very difficult to get away from some of them, right? Some of you watching this right now, I may have talked to, are like, Tim, I can't get away from my factoring company. Why? What's going on? How do I do this? Well, you basically, it's not a phone call saying, hey, because they want you to get a hold of them so far in advance before the end of your term with them. And so, and whatever that might be, it might be 3 months prior to the end of your agreement. But it's not just a phone call saying, hey, I'm looking to switch. So, I'm not looking to renew, right? You would think so. And they could note that in their system, do not renew. Seems simple enough, right? But it is not. You literally have to send them certified mail, make them sign for it, okay? Because that's going to show that they've acknowledged that they've received it of your cancellation with them, okay? Send a follow-up email. And, you're going to want to call them, send an email, and send signature required notice of you're no longer wanting to do business with them, right? Seems a little bit of a hassle. And I've talked to so many drivers because this is, again, I love talking to drivers on a regular. And because people have said to me, Tim, why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? You can do that. I don't like that. I would much rather talk to my customers, drivers, dispatchers, right, on a regular basis. As it's enjoyable to me, right? That's part of what makes my job enjoyable, and I don't end up losing my mind. So, because otherwise it can be kind of monotonous, right? Staring at the computer screen and being on the phone and this and that. It can be rough sometimes. So it's just that there's other sides of it that are not enjoyable to me. But anyway, but yeah, they're like, what do I do about this? What do I do about that? Well, you sign the contract, right? And they'll hide little things in there. Okay. Operify is completely transparent with everything, right? If you have questions, they will answer them honestly and fully up front. Again, Tom, Danny, everybody over there, I can't say enough about them. I mean, they're true rock stars in the factoring world, right? They don't get any better than that, right? So again, it's too late to check credit after the fact. So something to be aware of. Okay, think of it as like an insurance policy that saves your business. I hate getting emails and phone calls. It almost makes my heart sink. When I get those and they go, Tim, it's been, well over 30 days and I'm not getting paid from this broker, and even if you're utilizing quick pay, right, from the broker, a lot of times, especially if you're utilizing it often, a lot of times those percentages are much more than what your factoring costs would be. Okay. And number two, I can't tell you the number of phone calls and people that I've talked to that said, hey, I did quick pay and it's been 30 days and I'm still not paid. Right? And if you're a broker watching this right now and you need factoring, you're looking to get into factoring, you're looking to build your credit score, right? They will help you get your credit established. Okay? And you can offer your carriers quick pay. So something to keep in mind, whatever side you're on, whether you're a carrier or a broker, especially if you're just starting out, or maybe you've got some time in, maybe you were an agent and you're looking to go out on your own and start a brokerage, right? And again, you don't need, all the frills, bells, and whistles right out of the gate. I actually talked to somebody the other day that was, looking at starting their brokerage, and they're like, we're going to have the best of this and the best of that. And you don't need that right off the bat, right? While the technology is nice and it's helpful, when you're first starting out, it's kind of tough, right? Unless you have a good carrier following that's going to come with you. If you started off as an agent and you have a book of business that you can bring with you, under your own authority, those things are going to help you, right? There's a lot of other things, but there's some basic things that you're going to need to have, and those being two of them is carriers, customers. You're going to need factoring, right? And a good factoring company like Operify. So, yeah, I was sitting there looking at some of these numbers and some of the data on freight brokerage closures and stuff, and I just felt like this was a very good topic to get into because, while we are looking at the market kind of on an uptrend, and maybe even a little more so into 2025, that doesn't mean it's not going to be too little too late for a lot of these brokerages that are failing, right? Well, I'll just file on their bond. Okay, they've got a $75,000 bond. What do you do when, that gets eaten up and you didn't file quickly enough, right? Now you can go to the shipper and get paid, right? But that's, again, a whole nother set of hassles. Time is one of those things that you can never get back, right? It's sort of like buying property. They're not making any more of it, right? They're not making any more land. Well, you can't make time. Time is your most valuable commodity. So when you waste it running down a rabbit hole, trying to track down shippers and getting paid from brokerages, right? Wouldn't it be better to have a factoring company in place that basically is your back office, right? All right, that's it for today. I hope that gave you something to think about. Okay, I really truly do. Regardless of where you go or whatever, think about factoring if you're not already, or if you're struggling. Stop living on quick pay. Okay. I actually had Danny on the show a while back, and we talked about quick pay versus factoring and things, or getting a line of credit from the bank. Again, think of it as a bit of an insurance policy. Okay. And like I said, especially with Operify, with between the fuel card and the instant payments through Tank, veteran discounts, if you're a veteran, law enforcement, first responder, right? These are all things to consider. and the transparency in their agreement, right? And they really do a lot for your growth to help your business, right? Because when you succeed, they succeed. They don't just, push the paperwork, and then go, well, geez, I hope they make it. I hope they grow. No, they're there to basically help you succeed, right? So, some things to think about. I hope everybody's having a great Thursday. Again, I hope it's not snowing and you're not getting bombarded with all of that white stuff that's falling on the ground. A lot of times I enjoy the snow. There's outdoor activities that I enjoy, but too often times I just am not able to get outside like I and enjoy that like I used to, and then it becomes kind of a pain, right? If you're not having fun with it, then it's more of a chore. So, anyway, again, have a great day. Take care, and as always, be kind to one another. Bye bye.